Hi everyone. Um, on Monday's tutorial, I forgot to mention two important parts due to the limit of time. And one is Bootstrap, and another one is the easier solution that helps you build a shiny page based on Bootstrap and interactively web builders. And in this case, you don't need to write too much HTML or CSS code. So in this video, I'm gonna discuss these two. Let's first come to Bootstrap. It's this very famous user interface library that provides you some widgets that are supported by the native HTML. Um, we can look at its official size, and you see in the component part there's a lot of UI. There's like alerts, badge, or there's just the cards. Like the collapsible part, and sort of jumbotron and list groups and progress bar or toast and tool tips. Those could be very helpful when developing websites. And what makes it really amazing is that you don't need to write a large amount of HTML or CSS code to call these UI widgets. You just need to add some class name into it. See, for card, and just add the div elements, and then name a class name card, and the Bootstrap library will do the rest of it for you. And what's more important is responsive. Based on the grid system, the system is exactly the same as the grid system in Shiny. Well, with this grid system, the Bootstrap will automatically lay out all of the HTML widgets based on the user's browser size. Say if on a bigger computer, as big as this computer screen, then the input, the plot are enough to place on one row. Then if we're using a smaller size, say if the users are using a mobile phone to access this page, then a row is not wide enough to put these two clearly. So the Bootstrap will help you lay out with one card per row, and in this case the contents will not overflow, and each element is the size is reasonably enough for the user to see it clearly. And to define these, to define the size, to define the grid system, it's also simple. Just add a class name. Every Bootstrap page consists of a container and multiple rows. So maybe the entire website, this is a container, and this is one row, and this is another row, and the third and fourth. And you, for each element, each substantial HTML widgets here, to define its width, you just call it by add some class name like column slash sm/8. Then it will tell the Bootstrap that it will take 8 columns of a row. So that makes it like a grid. You just define the rows and columns, and each elements will take up the corresponding space. And by defining multiple columns like this, it will tell the Bootstrap what this elements will look like on different sides of screen. Say the large, if on a larger screen, then it may take it probably will take fewer columns. Well, otherwise the screen may seem the page may seem just too sparse. You put a kind of small elements that take up the whole row. It's gonna be not that beautiful. And on the smaller screen, it may take some more space so that you can see the elements clearly. So if take this as example. If I write like column smaller screen with 8 and column medium screen with 6, then on extra small, say probably a phone, it will takes up the 12. By default, all on the smaller screen, all of them will take 12, which means that it will takes up the entire row. So on a extra small screen, it will take 12 columns, and on a small screen, say a tablet, it probably takes 8 columns, and on a medium screen, just like this computer, it will take 6 columns, and on a maybe a even larger, say 27 inches or 30 inches, like a television, it will take up still it will take up 6 column unless you define it. Say add maybe a column large 2, then it probably only takes 2 columns. So this is the role of defining the width and makes it responsive. And also, Bootstrap provides you with some sort of CSS helper. You don't need to. That might save you some work. You don't need to define the margins by CSS. You just add the more class name onto it. Like define an N3 means there will be margin with 3 unit lines. Of course, the unit lines of Bootstrap is a bit different from like Pixel or REM, but it's also responsive, so you can just use it, but without too much concerns. And I can show this, like here the sentence or where is it? The spacing. You see, you can just define the margin by calling M, like M3 or M6. That'll be this is the way it defines the size. So it's pretty simple. You don't it's kind of simpler than writing CSS. Well, of course, most of these CSS helpers are supported in the version 4 of Bootstrap, and the Shiny is actually based on version 3. So we're gonna change the Bootstrap version. Instead of reintroducing those dependency and add those CSS and JavaScript file manually, we can use the bslib package. It's way more simpler. It can just you see, usually when we want the custom themes, we may use some sort of shiny themes over here, and bslib. If you use the BS themes in the bslib, and you can modify the entire Bootstrap theme with more options. Like you can first define its version to be 4, 3, 4, or 5. Then we use the corresponding library. Then the support of widgets and formats might be a little bit different. So of course, the later version of libraries will provide you with more options. So I suggest in most of the cases you can change it to version 4. And then you can change the formats. You see, because the Bootstrap is very modularized library, many of its like colors or size, they're predefined with sort of variables, and then it will use in many places so that it will look consistent. Like say the color of it, the most important colors of Bootstrap are defined into primary, secondary, success, danger, warning, and info, some sort of like that. Maybe the danger will be used for the error message, the warning will be used for warning message, and once the actions goes on normally, they will bring up you a success tooltips. Then you see, in this case, inside the Bootstrap library, there's a variable that defining what exactly the primary color is, and the Bootstrap allows you to change it. It's through the Stats. Well, it's the kind of complex for us, and fortunately, we don't need to care about it. The BS library helps us to define it. It can show you with a real-time preview themer, and you just select this color, and then it will tells you the code to define it, and you just paste it inside the BS theme function for the theme option of your page. So that is all we need to know about Bootstrap. And for the detailed usage, I suggest you, whenever you want to write something, just check the official documents. There are too many widgets and formats. Of course, you cannot remember them all. So, well, at least for me, every time I want to write something, I open the official page and I browse through the components or the formats and to see if there's any one of them match my expectations. And then I go into look at options and I copy and paste its code and make some slight modifications, and that is all.